Salutations, Shays, and welcome back to your home for all things strange and unusual. Talking with Shadows, the conversation everyone has, but no one wants to admit to. Here with your host, Vic Waitley.
And Marcus D. And a big shout out to Slenderman for being so dang fit.
What do you think? Keto? Atkins? How's he do it?
Souls?
Probably souls.
Fears of everybody coming for them in the middle of the night.
And today in the studio, we have Ricky Bruckman with us once again.
Joining us from Mount Vernon Paranormal. Say hello to everybody, Ricky.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, just to let you know, I have a can of beer in front of me, but I'm not allowed to open. So
That's right, you're not allowed to open the beer till we give the toast. That's part of the show. There's a rhythm. There's a ritual.
It has been an intense amount of work to keep him from drinking this beer before we do our random cheers, guys.
Yes, absolutely, because we have to give a shout out to the beers that we're drinking in this episode. Today, I'm drinking, again, one of the Genevieve Belgian-style Amber Ale. That's the ones with the dragon on it. It was 2 episodes ago, I think I was drinking this.
2 or 3, something like that.
Yes.
And me and Ricky are drinking the last of the Barnes Phantom Ghost Citrus, which I absolutely freaking am falling in love with.
Boo.
This is Ghost?
No, it's Ghost.
I don't know what Ghost is.
It looks like you want to say Ghost whenever you read it. But anyway, this is to all of our listeners actually, because we actually just broke our record for views for this month, and the month's not even over. So I'm super excited for all of the support that you guys have been giving us. So this is to you guys.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers to you guys. Now you can open it. Ricky. There you go.
There you go.
Oh man, I like this stuff.
That is real beer. That is not that.
Oh God, this stuff is hard.
I told you. It tastes like a sour. It tastes like a sour beer. It tricks you. It's a sour beer in disguise.
It is really good. I really like this stuff.
Oh my God, this stuff is awful.
Here, pass it to me. I'll drink both of them.
Be my guest, please. This stuff is good.
I feel bad. Here, do you want to drink the Genevieve stuff? Here, try it. Here, see if you like it better.
Wow, we are role modeling such bad behavior during COVID.
We work together.
Yeah, and we're around each other all the time.
Like there's not much social distancing that we could really do.
Now this stuff isn't bad. This is good stuff. I don't know what the hell made him thought that stuff was good.
Okay. I don't know what's wrong with you two. This is a good beer.
Oh man.
Oh my God, it's like drinking ski and vomit.
It's like
really
punishing
good.
my body. It is. It's like ski and vomit, isn't it? Oh my God, that's a great analogy.
You guys aren't worthy of the Barnes Phantom Ghost Citrus brand.
No, this is what is this? It's a citrus ale that it's a sour beer that identifies as a citrus ale. That's what
no, that thing needs to go back in the barn.
Okay, stop bashing on my delicious beer and let's get to our subject matter at hand.
Okay, so we are wrapping up our month-long talk on demons this October. For this whole Halloween, guys, we've been scaring the crap out of a lot of you probably with discussing stories upon stories of people being possessed by demons, people battling demons, and what better way to finish off this month with actually bringing a real demonologist into the studio to talk about demons. So, Ricky, thank you so much for coming and talking to us.
Not a problem at all. This is a subject I always love talking about. I've been banned from talking about it a couple of times at the libraries,
and our work.
And this is the first time that we've had a repeat guest, right?
Yes. Ricky was on episode 3. And so he's the first person that's come back in to talk with us in the studio.
And beyond the podcast, we've had him on the regular channel too. So
yes,
this is his third time on the channel
Ricky,
altogether.
so he is now currently our favorite guest to have in the studio. Thank you so much, Ricky.
If I'm your favorite guest, you could do better than that.
Or
this water he gave me to drink. That stuff was awful.
Or the best person we can get. No, I'm just kidding.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't take us wrong. I really do I love hanging and working with these guys, but I don't know. Vic, he's starting to scare me with his taste in beer.
It's freaking good. I don't know what's wrong with you guys.
Oh man, you know what happened? You delved too much into demons that your mind has warped, and you are now settling for like low subpar beers.
It's good.
No, it's not.
Okay, I want you guys to go out and try this and back me up that it is a good beer.
Yeah. No.
We're not even sponsored. I'm trying to get people to drink this.
I'm trying to do an anti-ad right now. Hope you guys enjoyed that banter. Since we got a guest in the studio today, we thought we probably wouldn't talk about some of the comments yet that we had from our Exorcists Around the World video, because it's only been up for one day. We brought Ricky in the following day right after we recorded that. So if you guys want to make comments on that video or even this video, that's absolutely fine. We'll cover them in our next episode. Absolutely. Also, guys, if you guys have been enjoying the thing that we've been doing with a theme for this month, up on our Patreon right now for our level 2 and higher, our closed source members and higher patrons, we have a poll up right now for people to vote on the theme for next month. So if you guys want to go on there and become a patron for $2 a month, you can go on there and you can vote in order to shape next month's content. Right now, we got a
three-way tie.
Three-way tie right now. The ideas are ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, and immortals. That was a Vic suggestion right there. He was the one that threw immortals in, which I thought was interesting. So if you guys want to go in, vote, let your voices be heard on what we're gonna do next month. But today, guys, we're gonna talk about demons with a real demonologist. Now, you guys probably know, if you guys have been veterans of our podcast, that we have been on numerous investigations with Ricky and Mount Vernon Paranormal. There are some of our favorite people to do investigations with. So, Ricky, I have to know, like, when did you first get interested in like demonology and the study of demons? Like, when did that start?
Well, my interest in demonology came about after talking with a colleague of mine named Bishop James Long. Bishop James Long is a demonologist, and also he is active in doing real exorcisms. I've always questioned about exorcisms because people can, if you don't know what you're doing, they made these mistakes. But Bishop Long is really on top of his game when it comes to this study. I've studied paranormal sciences prior, parapsychology, the understanding the ideals of the spirit. But also a lot of people mistaken demonology as something as worshiping of demons. And after speaking with Bishop Long and understanding, it's sort of like understanding the enemy. Those of us who follow more of a Christian-based belief or Jewish-based beliefs, understanding what the enemy can do is a good tool. And that's basically the way I look at it, and that's what got me interested in studying to understand what I'm actually combating against if I do come across any possible demonic entity.
Okay, I know somewhere in there you threw in the idea of doing something wrong when it comes to this sort of study. That, of course, is going to beg the question, what is the worst things that one can do?
Yeah, like
what's the fallout from them?
What are the do's and don'ts of demonology? Start with the don'ts.
Okay. Number one, don't assume that everything you see in the field is demonic. That's a big don't. The possibility of a demonic energy or a demon, actual real demon, is very slim. Coming across of unclean spirits is more possible than a demon. A big don't. When I say if you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Automatically assume that you can do a cleansing or do an exorcism upon someone because you read it in a book or you're reading a book. If you do not have the experience of what to actually do, you can actually make things a lot worse.
So, I've said it many times in the podcast that when it comes to the paranormal, we grow up and, with how we grow up, it sort of gives us our vocabulary for dealing with the paranormal. When you explain stuff with the paranormal, you explain it from some of the background that you come from, whether it's just your religion, your spirituality, what have you. So I think I've seen that many times where people, they don't have a large vocabulary when it comes to the paranormal. So everything's a demon. They hear a bump in the night, they're demons. They see a weird shadow on the wall, that's a demon. What? So I guess how do you identify that? Like how can you tell the difference?
It's hard to explain, basically. Let me try to see if I can get the proper words to come across when I'm trying. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. That was a remnant of the last beer. The possibility, a true demonic entity, a true demon, if you're coming across a real demon, it's going to be it's not only going to be a battle within a spiritual battle, but it could be a physical battle. You come across a real demon, you're going to feel more than just your hair standing up. All right. It goes into more detail when you start going into oppression and possession.
Okay, I really want to get there, but I want to double back on something that you said because it was very reminiscent of a question I asked in one of the previous episodes. I don't remember if it was in the Patreon content or if it was in one of the podcasts, but I had mentioned that I was very curious on if there was a difference between demons and unclean spirits, and if so, what are they?
Okay, unclean spirit, under modern demonology, we take that as an unclean spirit is something of a spirit that actually lived physically on this earth, a soul that embraced embraced the dark arts, embraced true Satanism or Luciferian, someone who basically embraced evil. Okay, that is an unclean spirit. An unclean spirit is a soul that's literally sold themselves within to the demonic energies.
So, like when we were talking about Divix a few episodes ago, where I noticed, like in the Hebrew belief, they mentioned that a human after death could acquire demonic abilities, and they gave the example of Lilith, and they were explaining that's why a Divik can possess demonic powers. So it's something along those lines, right?
That's correct. Let's look at it this way. The biggest talk that everybody talks about is Aleister Crowley. Okay, those who don't know who Aleister Crowley was, he was known as the Mad Professor, the Mad Doctor. He studied what at that time what people called demonology, which is more of Luciferian teachings, dark magic, and he created some of his own little things in the mix there.
Yeah, I know like a lot of his stuff involved like sexual magic and doing magic under drugs, trying to reach like a really high point in your energy to actually fuel magic. And I haven't studied him and his work with, what is it, the Golden Dawn?
It is the Golden Dawn. His whole basis is he wanted to embrace that spirituality, to have a demonic energy indwell into him, to give him the power to move on beyond that. The problem is when you're trying to get that spirit to indwell in you, you become more of an unclean spirit, which you're basically trapped and you're personally being persecuted by being stuck on this earth.
So could Aleister Crowley be running around as a Divik now?
Honestly, I don't know, but it's a good idea to think about, because it would not, as a modern demonologist would say, it is not within the possible norm.
So, you were talking about, with being able to identify, are you dealing with a spirit? Are you dealing with a demon? You said there's a much more physical component when you're dealing with a demon. So you talking about just like physical marks? Are you saying like bruises? Like what? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
If you are being attacked by a real demon, you're going to feel your body as much as your spirit. And the part of, when I mean by your spirit, the biggest thing is that a demon will try to break your spirit. You will feel almost like a physical and a mental breakdown of coming across a real demon.
And I've seen, I think, some of that in cases of possession before where there is this like a transition period that many of the family will describe surrounding the person, whether or not they lose weight, their behavior changes, they lose sleep, they sleep more.
Now, what you're talking about is oppression now. You're talking about the breaking of the will. A true demon cannot possess someone till they've broken the will. The soul's will has to be broken. By doing this, they pressure. It's pressure. It's psychological pressure, mental pressure being pushed on them. They stop eating. They start losing. They start losing weight. They start being. There's certain things you start to notice that come out. Suddenly, they can speak Latin. All right, someone that you knew throughout all your life suddenly can speak Latin and backwards, which I have experienced once. I have experienced that once where someone's actually started speaking Latin backwards. I had to record it just to see for sure that this is what I'm hearing. And yeah, it was.
I definitely want to get into that here in a second. So, I mean, you're familiar with the concept of shadow people, right?
Yes, I'm very comfortable.
So, in a lot of extreme shadow people cases that people have described, they've had scratches, they've had like skin abrasions on them. Would you count that? I mean, do you see shadow people as demons? Is that in and of itself demonic activity? Is it different?
There is a lot of misconceptions between demons, unclean spirits, and shadow people. Some people that were within the same. Let me get my words right. People that I've talked to who study demonology, some people believe that shadow people are actual manifestations of true demons, and there are some that disagree with that. I personally, through my studies, I cannot see the true quality as a shadow person being someone that either being an actual demon. I don't have enough proof, physical proof, that I can say that would guarantee, okay, shadow people are of a demonic origin. All right. As for unclean spirit origin, it's the same thing. It's the same people that I talk about that within the community that would believe that shadow people can be demonic or unclean. There's so many different variables here that we can't even compare to say, yes, okay, this is definitely what it is. You would talk to other demonologists that would say, okay, yes, shadow people are demons. Some people say, no, shadow people are unclean spirits. Even in biblical times, the discussion of shadow people was brought up. But even then, they could not come up with a defined interpretation of what shadow people are.
So, could you give us a pretty detailed breakdown on oppression and possession? Like what the differences are, what are the telltale signs, things along those lines?
Okay. Oppression is basically the first stage of breaking the spirit. A true demon, if it's trying to oppress you, it could either be from an unclean spirit, could try to do the same thing by making you believe that, okay, I'm here to help you. I'm your friend. I'm come to help you. And they seem very benevolent in the very beginning. And then once they give up their trust and give up that benevolency and say, okay, this spirit that's helping me is my friend. It's trying to be my friend. And then when they get to that point, that's when if it's a demon, that's when the demon shows itself and starts breaking the will. Starts mentally, it's the same signs as mental illness. They'll start hearing voices constantly to the point that they feel like they're going insane. They start cutting themselves. It's very much near the signs of mental illness in itself. They start cutting themselves. They start thinking suicide thoughts. Okay, if I kill myself, I'll be rid of this demon.
So then, how would you differ as a demonologist? How would you differentiate between a mental illness and a person that is being oppressed or a person that is being possessed?
Okay, when the person is near the point, their breaking point, near possession, as someone that's oppressed and someone that's truly mental illness, there's certain things that start to stem. There's certain points you start to see. One, what I said before, was speaking other languages. A voice transition, a change of a voice and the character of the voice itself when you're talking to somebody.
That's that knowledge of the unknown. It's one of the cardinal traits that the Catholic Church looks for in a case of possession.
Exactly. And you start hearing the change in the voice. They like I said before, someone speaking Latin that does not understand Latin, or someone speaking Hebrew. And that's another thing you see in this, is someone speaking a pure Hebrew. That which, let me put it this way. Latin, is mostly used in the Catholic Church. Okay? That which pure evil will try to mask, or I'm using the wrong word, not mask. They would reverse what the teaching of the Catholic Church would do. If someone that is believing in Catholic Church, say someone's a Catholic and they're being oppressed, everything they're going to do leading to the possession is counteractive to what the Catholic faith would believe. Instead of a standing cross, upside down cross. It's destroying religious artifacts like rosaries or little statuettes, destroying these items because they don't want to be near these items. Some of the stuff they show in these movies, like The Exorcism, when you see them, they're like, okay, the person's levitating in the air. That's extremely rare.
We talked about that in LaToya Almond's podcast that we did. We talked about that case at length on the podcast as well as on the channel.
It's been a particular focus of ours, actually, over the last few years.
I'm telling people now, that case, the LaToya Almond's case, if you want a real, clear evidence case of something supernatural at the very least going on, you definitely should investigate that case. Go back and look at our stuff on it, other people's stuff on it.
I've actually looked at some of the stuff that you guys did about that case. I actually read some of the reports, because it took a lot of doing, because I wanted to understand what happened there. But I personally, from someone just by reading what was documented, I would say that what happened in that house started with oppression. It started breaking the will of the child, started breaking the will of the people that lived in that house, to the point that possession came into play. And once possession was in play, there was only one way to rid of that demon, was through exorcism.
So, Ricky, how long have you been a paranormal investigator?
I've been a paranormal investigator since 1993.
Okay, since 1993. How many cases would you say that you've investigated where you genuinely believed there was demonic activity and not something else going on?
3.
How many cases did people believe that demonic cases were going on and you had to whittle it down?
Hundreds.
I'd fully believe that. During an interview not long ago, we were asked by our interview. Who was the last interview we did?
Was it Justin?
Yeah.
Was it not? Yeah. Or Knock Once for Yes. No, Justin.
No. It was the guy we went on his channel.
Oh, that we did. That was Johnny Smith from
Johnny Smith. There we go.
Yes, from the Inquisitive Mind podcast. Yes.
Okay, he had asked us about what would we do in the case of demonic cases when they came about, and I mentioned that we don't really deal with them. They don't come up that much where we legitimately believe it's demonic. But if it ever did, we would not take it and we'd try to refer it to someone else. Where would be a good place to refer this? Who would be a good person to go to if you are under such attack?
Honestly, the first thing I want to do is clarify it. Somebody comes to me and says, "Listen, I got something demonic going on in my house." I personally am going to go over there to see what I'm finding, to see what the findings show me, see what the evidence is proving. Now, if someone's actually got true demonic energy going on in that house. I mean, true demonic energy where you're starting to see what's a bit good. You're starting to see, not just things moving, but things literally. It's a certain. The first thing, let me put it this way. The first thing I'm going to tell you, we as humans, if our hair starts standing up, that's a good sign that you got something going on in that house. I'm not saying it's demonic, but it's a good sign you got something going on. Once you start doing your research, if you start trying to communicate, that's the big thing. When you try to start communicating with the entity using ITC or just I hate to say it, Ouija board, which is a big mistake. A lot of people.
Ooh, Ouija board.
All right,
Ouija
I'll
board.
get into that in a minute, but using ITC or something to that fact to try to communicate with it, that's when you're going to start to find out. If you're dealing with a real demon, you're gonna know it.
So tell us about one of those cases that you actually felt like you were dealing with a demonic entity. Can you tell us about one of them?
Yes, actually, it started off. Well, let me go to a preamble here for start off. When I was young, I saw an actual possession, and it scared the living hell out of me.
I didn't even know this.
Did that frame your desire to actually start studying demonology?
No, I was at the time I was 15. That's my first experience with something demonic. I was 15 years old. I was going to a private Christian school. My roommate, obviously, he was for years before he got involved got sent to this school. He was doing some practicing black arts, studying occult magic. Did not understand what he was getting into, and I watched the boy or man, literally start to break down. The first sign to me is when I took a cold, wet towel and threw it on his back, and it started to steam.
Holy shit. Holy crap.
All right, to see
Earmuffs.
that scared the living hell out of me. It literally started to steam, and then his voice literally started to change. And he started saying stuff I could not understand in some kind of weird language. I ran down to get to, at the time, like I said, I went to a Christian school. And I ran down to get one of the ministers to see what's going on. And they sent up this one guy who was a deacon in the church, went up there to see him, to see what's going on. And this guy fought in the Vietnam War, big man. Now, mind you, the kid I'm telling you about was really, really small, maybe 98 pounds. I watched this 98-pound kid throw a 200 and something pound man across the room.
Did you ever find out, how did the story resolve? Do you know the fate of this person?
Yes, well, the person today is a very respected person. I don't want to go in detail because I don't want to go out there and out the guy. But only thing I remember, the ministers grabbing him. Finally, they took 7 ministers and deacons to grab him and to cast out that demon. And the first thing they did, and one thing the pastor told me was, I want you and everybody else to leave the church property right now, because this is going to be a while. So we end up leaving the property. Then all I remember is hearing the guy yelling, I'm going to kill you, and saying his name, the kid's name constantly too. When I was leaving the building, I heard the most eerie scream I ever heard in my life. I cannot explain it. When I tell the story, people are like, "Oh, dude, you're full of everything. That ain't true." No, I heard it. I know what I saw. I could not explain it. All I know is I didn't want to be a part of it.
So is he doing okay now?
Well, he's fine now. He's married, has a couple kids, grandkids. It's a whole different person. After that incident, it was like a totally different person I ever saw again.
How long did it take for him to get back to being okay?
All I know is that when I was outside in that parking lot from the church, because I didn't want to leave, I was scared as anything. Outside that parking lot. Now, let me restate. This school I went to was also part of the church. The school I went to, we lived right there at the building. And I think several hours before I heard that screech.
So, I mean, when I mean okay, obviously he was in distress. Obviously there was something horribly wrong going on. But you said he's doing okay now. How long afterwards did it take you to realize that he was doing okay? He was going back to normal, as one can be normal after something like that.
He was totally physically drained after that incident. They also had to take him to the hospital because he had multiple scratches on him. Apparently, when the demon left his body, it scarred him.
So, I've read many accounts from the Catholic tradition that exorcisms can take a very long time to do. Is that in your opinion? Is that the case? Can they be done quicker? Is it a matter of what you're dealing with and how long the demons are around? Like what do you think impacts the time on that?
I think basically say in his situation, he was only dealing with one demon. People can be possessed by multiple demons. It only starts with one, but as time progresses, once that will is broken, other demons can possess and go into an actual physical body.
In the Patreon content, we've been talking a lot about old grimoires, exorcism manuals, and things like that. And in a lot of those, they'll list names of different demons and their abilities and what they have under their control and what they can also bring with you when they go into possessions and things like that. Is in your experience, is there any truth to this sort of information? Is it useful information, or is it just hokum?
No, it's very useful information. There is a hierarchy of hierarchy of demons. That which is holy, that which is unholy will repeat, but will pervert. The demon hierarchy does exist, as there is the hierarchy of the Trinity of God, or the Trinity of Allah. You've noticed that a lot of the faiths, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, even pagan faiths had multiple pantheons. As Christian faith has been mostly progressed in the time period, there's a hierarchy within God, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. The same thing could be said for demonology. There is a hierarchy of three demons that are basically the archangels of demonic and of the devil himself. Now, I don't get me wrong. Demonology is understanding demonology is not the worshiping of demons. It is understanding what a demonic entity can actually do, and understanding to understand the enemy, you could combat it a lot easier.
So then, do you mind talking about like one of your personal cases that you dealt with professionally?
The best case is I was doing an investigation up at a place called Jockey Hollow up in New Jersey.
And when was this?
This was going back in 1997.
I was 10 years old.
In 1997, I went up to do an investigation at a place called Jockey Hollow. Jockey Hollow was an American colonial encampment, also not far from a British bastion. And this is going back to Revolutionary War times. The little history of Jockey Hollow, the bastion itself, the British troops that were stationed there were massacred by the colonial militia of New Jersey at the time. They went in there, slaughtered all the women and children that were there. There was very little troops there because they were off stationed. When the militia went there, they just start butchering anyone they saw. Usually when you have something negative, a very negative possibility, like where there's high amounts of bloodshed, there's going to be something. There's going to be some residual dark energy there. And usually when residual dark energy is, you could come across some more of an unclean spirit, which is what I thought I was coming across. No, when I got there, I had manifestations of rocks being thrown at me. We heard growling coming out. I mean, physical growling, not just something you hear off a tape recorder. You physically, you live can hear this growling coming out. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, this place was an enclosed building. There was no animals in this building. It's a tower. Going into this tower, and this is what we experienced. And hearing that and feeling my own hair stand up, not just because of what I was hearing, but something just spiritually was not right. Something I just felt this utter presence of evil.
So, when it comes to, you mentioned there's a hierarchy of the evil. Are there any particular, like, things that I know you don't want to get possessed by anything, but are there any ones that are, like, really, really, really dangerous to get possessed by?
Well, to start things off, the possible chance of getting possessed by one of the hierarchy, extremely, I cannot explain how extremely it is to come across. You got to do something. You got to literally open yourself up to get to that point, to come across something more of the hierarchy. Okay?
So can I ask? I want to ask a difficult question. Or maybe this might be a theological question. I mean, I feel like this is a difficult question, and I don't know if I've ever had this. I don't know if this has ever been asked. So I have often heard from people that are in the demonology field that if you commit some sort of act that's wrong or bad or against, that makes you a more attractive target to a demon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, if these are from, say, like a Judeo-Christian concept where they revoked against God or some sort of higher authority where they were cast down, isn't that like a horrific act? Like, how could any act that humanity would do, how would that be attractive to something that's been around that much evil or that much badness or evilness or whatever? Like, how could we stack up to that to attract something that's been through something that awful?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying now. Give me a moment to think about this.
Sorry, that wasn't like a gotcha question, but I mean, like,
No, but let me
that's
think
just
about
been
this
rattling around in my mind for a little while. I don't.
Well, and I've always thought that often the goal of a demon seems to be, if you take the stance that they fell due to the envy of man, I've always kind of thought that it's to emphasize that God chose wrong in choosing man above the angels, and just anything they can do to kind of show, hey, these things can be just as bad as us.
Mm.
Well, let's look at Judeo-Christian faith right now, okay? I know. Yes, I'm going into religion, but religion also has there's religion. We all got to remember, religion goes far, far back.
And
Okay.
I think you can't really get into this topic without,
Without going
diving
into
on that
religion.
subject.
I mean, so many world religions like are made addressing this question about these things. I think it's okay.
Well, basically, let's say in the Judeo-Christian religions, okay, we all know about Lucifer, all right? He is the angel of light. He was God's most blessed and most chosen, okay, among his angels. He was the most loved and most honored. He claimed he wanted to be God. And when he wanted to be God, he got those who followed those other angels who served with him to follow his war. Follow his ideas. Like, you know what? We're just as good as God. We can be God. And that's under Judeo-Christian belief also. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie. I believe in that aspect because that's being raised under Jewish ideas and Christian beliefs. As my own research and studies, I cannot see anything that sways against it. But then again, I keep an open mind. I always keep an open mind. Evil in itself had to have a beginning. All right, and understand that evil had to be in the Christian belief that evil beginning started with Lucifer. If we go into the aspect of evolution, this world was during evolution violently created. Violence in all aspects is an evil, and under Christian belief is evil. You commit violence, you're committing an evil act. Okay. Do I believe that demons can possess people? Yes. Do I believe that what you said about the world itself and all this grandiose of evil? Demons need demonic energy. Demonic entities need to be able to get those to believe that against a holy God. Against that is good. If they're say, for all intents and purposes, I'm not saying there is no God, because I truly believe there is. But those who would say, "Oh, there's no God. Evil is just a concept." No, evil is not just a concept. Evil is pure. It is dark. It is hideous, and it will destroy. And the one goal for a true demon is not to create, but is to destroy. To destroy the human mind, destroy the human spirit, destroy the human body. That is the goal of a demonic energy. That is the goal of what a demon is out there to do. To bring, if you say there's no God, you can deny God all you want, but you cannot deny pure evil.
I have two takeaways from that, and one being, it sounds very much like what I've always been saying throughout like this podcast and stuff, that our belief and conviction in anything seems to be stronger than I think what people give it credit for. Because I've always said, if you're dealing with a possession situation, a Jewish rabbi, a Catholic priest, an Islamic imam or whatever, a shaman, they're all going to do different things, and they're all going to claim success. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's different, that's the same between them all, is the conviction of A, the person that's doing the exorcism.
That's correct.
And B, the person that's probably having the exorcism done on them.
Now, let me say this about exorcisms. I have talked to exorcists who were pagan faith and were able to remove a demon. Okay? The Christian faith will tell you, "Oh, that's impossible." Pagans cannot do it because they don't have the presence of God. The thing is, they are using that spirit within themselves, that their belief in the spirit was able to remove that demon. Demonic energy is pure evil. If you got something that's going to combat that pure evil, be it Muslim, be it Christian, be it Jewish, be it pagan, be it even Wiccan, if you got something that can combat that evil, to remove that evil, it will work.
And the second takeaway that I have from all of that, if you really think about the concept of any sort of demonic entity from like across different faiths, this is an entity that has existed for, at the very least, thousands of years, at the most millennia, mm-hmm. like in millions of years and things like that. These are beings that have oftentimes heard the voice of like a one true God in a religion, mm-hmm. could like destroy cities, shape the very earth itself. But they have to wear us down before they can take us over. Like, that either to me says that A, there's a devolution that goes on with them whenever they become a demon, or the human will is stronger than what we give it credit for.
God thought humans were pretty damn cool.
So I don't know. Like, I just, the whole month, this is what this has just led up to me just thinking, like, just really think about that. This is an entity that exists on a supernatural level, that has the wisdom of eons and has existed with all that experience and all these supernatural abilities, and yet it has to wear us down before it can possess. And like, wouldn't you think, like, logically this thing could just walk up and go, "All right, now I'm piloting this now. So, all right, it's Grand Theft Auto Ricky Bruckman."
Well, here's the thing: when you look at Christian faith, the statement is God said, "Let us make man." In the Christian faith, am I correct? God said, "Let us make man." He made man in his own image.
According to the Bible, yes.
According to the Bible. Okay?
Other texts, no.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, according to the Bible, he made man in his own image. Okay? I believe, and this is where I come in, as I say in the Christian aspect, that God made man in his own image, which means he made us within a trinity of ourselves. All right? That's the trinity being the body, the soul, the spirit. Okay? That's what I believe. All right? I believe this because of my studies into Jewish faith and also of Christian beliefs. And I'm not going to lie, people. I'm a devout Christian. I may be of Jewish belief and Jewish faith, but I also believe Christ is the Messiah. So there you go. I'm out. Here you are. Anyway, as for demons they have to break The will of man is just as strong as a demon. We may not have the supernatural power. We may not have the power to make things move or all that. Man desires that power. If man can obtain that power, we'd be outright dangerous.
Okay, I know you're also a biblical scholar, and I have a few just kind of random questions that I was wanting to throw at you. Okay. Is a angel's grace the same as a human soul, or is that something inherently different?
Honestly, I'm going to probably sound stupid in this, but I never heard that term.
Oh,
Angel's
okay.
grace to a human soul. I've never heard that term.
And I've always wondered because like people will talk about an angel being possessed of grace and things like that. I always felt that they meant something spiritually higher than like what a human grace is. But I might be just reading into it. I did have another question along those lines, but it's fairly apocryphic, so I'm not sure. Are you familiar with The Watchers? I'm trying to remember the book it's from.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay. So this was a fall that happened, like there was Lucifer's fall, and then this fall happened later on, right? Mm-hmm. Did the Watchers also suffer the same fate as the angels that fell with Lucifer? Just so our audience knows, this is a group of, and you can correct me if I'm inaccurate here, this is a group of angels that fell later on out of lust for humans, and they created the like Nephilims and things along those lines. So was their fate the same as the ones that fell with Lucifer, or is there anything different going on there? Or do we know?
We really don't know. I would say that the possibility is that those angels were put in like limbo. You know, some people, the Catholic Church believes in purgatory or also limbo, which is a place in between the dark and the light. It could be the same situation here when it comes to the Watchers. As for my own study, I have not done deep study into the Watcher concept.
Sorry for throwing some very weird questions
No,
at you.
I appreciate it.
That's what we do on the channel.
I personally wish I had better answers for you, but honestly, I'm not that inapt of the whole. I know of the Watchers, I know of the teachings of it, but as for how my own personal studies into it, I haven't really gone into detail about that.
Well, I think there's just this theme of these things being cast out from their higher power to be like, all right, now here's your punishment. Wander around on Earth because it sucks. I think probably 2020 has probably created a lot of other demonic forces probably out there. We can all agree it's been a terrible year.
I gotta say, like, I've been reading, like, some books that are very off from what I normally read. I'm usually reading stories about monsters and things like that. Going into, like, the demonic aspect has caused me to read, like, a lot of literature that I don't normally go into. Like, a lot of the grimoires that involve angels and demons and stuff. It's just brought up a lot of strange questions for me.
let me emphasize one thing here. The old grimoires is not what modern demonology is.
Okay, I would love to know, like, if a person is really trying to get into demonology today, and they're asking you that, where would you direct them? Like any paranormal investigator that's out there, or a person that's interested in this field, like, where would you direct them?
First place I would tell them, there's a organization called the Paranexus. They have courses specifically for paranormal researchers. They even touch on ufology, cryptozoology. Before you even start looking into demonology, you might want to understand more about paranormal itself, because paranormal and demonology do coincide. Also, if you're a religious person, prepare yourself, because if you're going into studying demonology, you're going to sit there and say, wait a minute, this contradicts what the Bible says, or this contradicts what the Torah says, or whatever holy book you follow. It's understanding that of that which the dark arts can do. The dark entities, what we know as demons, are.
I know we're getting towards the end of our segment, but I want to throw out kind of a final thing. So when we've been doing this research, we've looked into demons cross-culturally. Do you think that when, like, a Shinto priest talks about an Oni, or apologies for not knowing the proper word here, but a Hindu priest talks about demons within their religion, do you think they're talking about the same sort of thing, or do you think they're talking about something different?
Most definitely the same. every faith has a different meaning of what demons are, and they are all within the same thing. They could be the faith under Hindu, faith under pagan, anything. Demons are all the same. They are all one entity.
All right, wow. Man, we've been talking for a while on a lot of deep stuff. I think there's been a lot of fun talking about this stuff.
Oh, yeah, this has been great.
Absolutely. Have you had a good time, Ricky?
I always, at least the beer is better this time around.
That's true. That's true. Actually, dude, I've been so thrown off by this conversation, and this has been such a... I didn't even realize that I was still drinking this terrible citrusy beer.
It is not a terrible beer. It is a good beer.
Now, I'm going to say something. If demons had the capability of creating brews, I think this barn citrus snot is it.
You guys, I swear, have the most monochromatic palate. Anything stepping outside the normal beer is wrong. I think this is, although an unusual beer, it was not what I thought I was buying.
It's unusual, all right. I'll give you that.
I think it's still a very good beer. At that, I do like beers that are in kind of the sour wave, and this is in that area.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like the taste of urine, if you like the smell of rotten lemons and hot garbage, this is the beer for you.
Please, audience members, try this beer and back me up. Like I said, we're not sponsoring anything. I just want some backup here.
That begs the question: this whole podcast, our sour beer is good?
Yes, they're delicious.
I think we have definitely answered that question in the podcast today, and the answer is no. They are not. They are not good. It is a 2-1 vote thing. So whoosh. Anyway, Ricky, thank you so much, man, for coming to the studio to talk with us. It is always a super fantastic time whenever we get to talk to you, man. You're absolutely one of my favorite people in the paranormal and stuff, man. Props to you. Thank you so much for coming in.
And you're sticking around for a Patreon segment, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Absolutely. So,
now, can I just close off with this? All right, people, if you come across something that literally puts your hair standing up, and you question if, hey, maybe I'm coming across a demon or something, please, I cannot repeat, do not try to resolve the situation yourself. Let's find out for sure that what you are dealing with is something that is that, and not something that can make things worse. I've seen too many mistakes made from people thinking that they had something, doing something stupid, and now they have something. And that happens. And I beg you, keep a safe Halloween this year. Don't be stupid. Don't go out, buy Ouija boards and think, okay, here we go, we're going to do it. No.
Good advice.
You don't know what you're doing.
Don't use Ouija boards. Absolutely fantastic advice.
If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it.
All right, guys. I couldn't give any better advice than that. So, but hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you guys have enjoyed this episode, please leave some comments below on what you guys think of the episode, and if you guys have any questions for Ricky or anything like that, we'd love to get your guys' final thoughts on demons and this whole concept. But until next time, keep believing.
Because we'll keep listening.
Oh man, that was so awesome talking with you, Ricky, man, throughout this whole podcast. Now we're gonna slide into our Pillow Talk segment. If this is the first time that you guys are catching this podcast, the Pillow Talk segment is the extended part of the podcast where we keep talking about some more interesting stuff in the paranormal.
Did you know Ellie hates that we call it Pillow Talk?
That's, I think, part of the reason why we keep calling, because it was a working name that we had, because we couldn't come up with a better name for it. But if it bothers Ellie that much, it's kind of funny that we just keep calling it that. I also find it really weird that none of our listeners have called us out on it being called our Pillow Talk. Because again, we got deep into some hot and heavy stuff, I think, talking when we talk about stuff, and yeah, this is just the aftermath part. So we got some more stuff. So if you want to catch the rest of this podcast, all you gotta do is go over to our Patreon and sign up, and For as little as $1 a month, you get the rest of this podcast as well as the other videos that we put up on our Patreon.
And for $2 a month, you get to actually vote and steer the channel. Just a little bit of an upsell, guys.
Just a little bit
Wink.
of that's okay. But if you guys can't do that, just listening to this podcast absolutely helps us out so much. If you guys also want to help us out too, giving us a review on wherever you guys listen to this podcast is also super, super appreciated.
Help us buy some beer.
That's right. Help us buy some better beer. We need better beer. Better beer. Absolutely. Actually, at this point, I will take adequate beer with what we're drinking today.
I'm gonna stop arguing with you guys. You're just wrong.
No, you just need to stop arguing because we're correct. But anyway, all right. But we're going to keep talking to Ricky, and we're going to get more into his investigations with demons. Now, Ricky, you were telling me before we got recording that you, and a little bit even too while we were recording, that you've had some investigations where you were convinced you were dealing with demonic activity. I know you got a little bit in Jockey Hollow, but do you have another case too that you want to talk about with us?
Actually, this one sort of hits home. We started my team and I. My partner, my co-founder. We started an investigation at a cemetery. Now,
which cemetery?
Bellefontaine.
Oh, down in Mount Vernon.
Yes.
Yes, we have.
We started a research at Bellefontaine Cemetery. Now, the one thing I tell everybody when you start doing investigations is, unless you're really strong, you feel your spirit's really strong, you do not. And I personally hate this. I know my colleague at Two Girls and the Ghost would agree with me. You never work alone. Okay? Now, I'll tell you right now, Vic Whaley, he loves to work alone, which I love to slap him once in a while. But anyway.
Okay, I don't consistently work alone. I'm just saying, if something's going on and no one else is running in that direction trying to find it, I'm going to run after
As I always tell people, if you investigate the paranormal, you always go with somebody who's going to run the same direction as you, whether it's forward or backward,
Exactly.
Whichever way it is. Always go with somebody that's going to run the same direction with you.
Well, anyway, my partner in our research was doing some investigation on his own by himself.
Wait, is this what I think it is?
Yes.